Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So before we continue with the paper review today, I would like to make an announcement that we are having a new intake for students to join our math and math lesson. Okay, you will be taught directly by me in a small group class settings. Okay, so the mode of delivery is online. If you wish to know more about it, feel free to fill in the Google form below. So without further ado, let's get started with our lesson here. Oh, one more thing. So the class is for exam batch of 2024 and also 2025. So there will be slight changes in the syllabus for those who is planning to sit for 2025. So if you need my guidance, okay, feel free to join our lesson. So fill in the form and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Good luck. Let's get started. Hi guys, so welcome back. Today we are going to go through the May June 2023 Set 21's paper. Okay, so let's have a look at the first question. They're asking you for this particular angle here. But to find that, very likely I have to work out how much is ADC first. So please take note that ADC itself is a quadrilateral, or you can look at it as it has 4 sides, which means the total interior angle of it is actually 360. So all you have to do is to take 360 minus of 104, 56, and 71. Hence, you have a balance of 129. So 129 is not what you're looking for since they ask you for ADE. So all you have to do is to take 180 minus 129 and you will get the balance of 51. So first question is done. Let's continue. So train journey starts at 2143. It takes 8 hours and 32 minutes. Find what time did the journey finishes. So some students prefer to use logical thinking. So for me, I'll be going through the details. Okay, that helps me to secure the answer correctly all the time. So what you actually have to go through is that you need to know how long did it takes for it to arrive at midnight. Okay, so to be exact, I think it would take them another 17 minutes here, okay, to make it to 60. So 22 to 24, which means there's another 2 hours. So 2 hours and 17 minutes later, you arrive at midnight. So all I do now is to take the 8 hours that they mentioned and 32 minutes minus 217. Then I should be able to get the answer. So 32 minus 17, the balance is 15. And which means you have to go through another 6 hour and 15 minutes, which the time is actually early in the morning, 0615. Since they're using 24-hour format, I will be writing 0615. If you were to use the AM PM method, make sure you specify that it is 6:15 in the morning. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this question. Moving on to question number 3. Okay, they want you to write down the geometrical reason for each of the answer. So A here is quite straightforward. A should be 58 as they are using vertically opposite. Okay, meanwhile, to find B, however, I'll be taking 180 minus 58, which the balance is actually 122. So the reason behind this is it will automatically form a U shape here, if you can see. So when there's a U shape like this and they are parallel, then A plus B will actually be 180. If you didn't do this method, you can also say that our 58 can be transferred here using corresponding angle, and your B will be 180 minus 58, which it is a straight line. So for me, I am leaning towards using corresponding angle and straight line. Okay, if you wanted to use 180 minus 58, then you have to mention the term interior angle of two parallel line. Okay, you have to write that down. So for me, I use corresponding angle and straight line. Okay, up to you how do you want to write it. There's no right or wrong in this question here. Okay, question 4 has gained its popularity lately. They wanted to test students whether they can read the question carefully or not. So they actually want you to correct everything to one significant figures first before the calculation. So 6.7 will actually translate into 7. 2.1 is still 2. And meanwhile, the 18 will be updated into 20. And the 5.9 will actually be 6. So with this, you have to key in 7 times 2, 20 minus 6. And you will get the balance of 1 here. Okay. So since they mentioned you must correct it to one significant figures, it is good that you attach this working right here. Okay. Moving on to question 5, they ask you for x. So one thing for sure that you need to remind yourself about is the total probability, which it is always 1. You can verify this by having 100%. Okay, when you key into the calculator, you get 1 here. So 1 minus 0.3 minus 0.35 minus 0.13, and you get the balance of x as 0.22. Okay, so this will be the final answer for question 5. Moving on to question 6, we have a volume of a sphere with a diameter of 4.8. So the catch here in this question is actually the term diameter. You must note that we have to use radius for the calculation. So the 4.8 will be divided by 2. That will result in 2.4. And with this, you're able to substitute it into the formula to work out the final answer. Okay, so aside from sphere, they can also test you on the term hemisphere. You just have to take note that it means half. So the formula that you have there needs to be divided by 2 or multiplied with 1 over 2. Okay, so the answer for this is actually 2304125 pi. That would translate into 3 significant figures. 57.9 is my final answer for 6. And moving on to question 7, it's been a while since they asked this. Okay, this is actually one of my favorite questions here. It's actually the scale thing. Okay, I'm not sure whether you guys are aware how to solve this. You just have to take note, 1 cm on the real graph, 1 cm on the graph is actually 125,000 cm in real life. And since the units that they wanted is kilometers, you have to figure out a way to restructure this 125,000. So 125,000 needs to be divided by 100 to make it into meters first, and another 1,000 to make it into kilometers. So it's actually 1.25 kilometers for every cm on the graph. So for the 9.4 that we have here, you need to multiply it with 1.25. Then you have a final result of 1.8. I have to multiply it with 9.4, sorry. So it should be 11.75 kilometers in real life. Okay, so moving on to question 8, sequence. So they're being nice here. They gave us everything that we possibly need. And all you need to do is to note that, so the so-called first 3 terms here means when n equals to 1, when n equals to 2, and when n equals to 3. The catch for this question is the negative doesn't belong to the n. Okay, so you need to key in them separately if you're using your calculator for this whole calculation here. So for me, if it's not too hard, I'll actually just calculate it in my mind. 2 square is actually 4, 10 minus 4 is 6. 3 square is 9, so 10 minus 9 is 1. So the first three terms here is 9, 6, and 1. Moving on to the next part, we have another sequence. They want us to find the n terms equation. So I'm going to look into each term's differences first. It was increasing by 3 every single time as they move forward. Okay, this constant changes means that it is actually a arithmetic sequence. So when it comes to arithmetic sequence, all you need to do is to take the difference, multiply with the n, and then I have to put a 0 term. So for those who is not aware of what I mean, 0 term means this one is first, and then they want you to work it out and find the 0 term. So when you go the other way around, instead of plus 3, it will result in minus 3. So 7 minus 3 will have a balance of 4. And to be exact, it is actually a positive 4. So this is the reason why I put a plus minus here, because I'm just trying to remind you of it can be negative. Okay, same goes to the difference. So the difference here today turns out to be a positive. So you attach the 3 in together with the n, then followed with a plus 4. This is how you form the n term sequence for question 8b. Moving on to question 9. So similar. So all you need to do is to compare them. So let's say I'm using AC compared to BC. Then on the other side, for the larger triangle here, your AC is corresponding to DF, then EF. So with this, time to fill in the blank with the figures given. You'll be able to identify that to find H, there's only one thing that you have to get rid of, which is this 8.1 here. So the moment when you shift it to the back, since it's a divide, it will automatically change into multiplication. So 5.6, 7.2 times 8.1, and we get the balance of 6.3. Okay, so this will be the answer for question 9. Okay, we are halfway through. Let's go to the fraction question. So question 10, they mentioned without using calculator, means majority of the workings you actually need to show. But good news is the examiner is not going to stand next to you looking at you solving this question. So if you wanted to use a little bit help from the calculator, you can actually do so by, for example, you can convert the proper fraction into improper by having 15 over 7. Okay, they are not expecting you to show 14 or 7 times 2 plus 1. Okay, they are not expecting this. Okay, so for the division at the back can be changed into multiplication, which means you have 9 over 5 instead. So the 5 and 15 can be cancelled or simplified. Here we get 3. So 9 times 3, 27 over 7. And then if we were to change it into proper fraction, I will make it a 3 and a 6. So this will be my final answer. Okay. Moving on to question 11. They want you to describe this single transformation. So triangle A into B, obviously it is an enlargement. Okay, so to find enlargement or to prove enlargement, you need a couple of things. You need the center of enlargement. You need the center of enlargement. You need the scale factor. Yeah, these are the two keywords that they are looking for. So I'm going to try to draw and find the center of enlargement first. So to do that, you have to join the respective corners together. So in this case, uh, I'm not doing on the paper, so there's slight discrepancy here. And the center of rotation is actually located at 0, 7. Okay, so you have to mention a few things, like I mentioned earlier. Enlargement. After enlargement, you have to mention with a scale factor of. Okay, so for this part here, all you need to do is compare either one of the sides. So if let's say I compare this, here is 1, suddenly it turns into 2. Okay, if you wanted to see the full workings, it's 1 times scale factor equals to 2. And to find the scale factor, you have to transfer the 1 away, which results in 2. Okay, this is how you actually find the scale factor here. And lastly, from the point, okay, you can write center of enlargement if you want. I'm just going to write point here at 0, 7. Okay, so this is how you get it done. Okay, so once you're done with it, I'm going to erase. Okay, so that I have extra space for my workings on the next question. Okay, so when you draw the graph, try to use pencil only. Okay, A to C. A to C is obviously a rotation. Okay, and from A to C, it is using 90-degree clockwise. So if you're able to write these two things down, you at least secure 2 marks. And the hardest part here is actually identifying the center of rotation. So A to C, this is a rotation. Okay, rotation of 90-degree clockwise. Okay, from the point, again, this last part is where students lose mark. I'm gonna use one of the way that can help students visualize is, I know roughly the center of rotation is around this part. Okay, but I'm not exactly sure at which point of this blue circle that I illustrated. So if I wanted to narrow down, let's say I randomly choose one of the point. Let's say this one. Okay, I'm gonna try to connect the angles. So let's say I've chosen here. The respective part of it is located here. So when I look, and when I join them up, okay, it doesn't seem like 90-degree at all. So to prove whether it's 90-degree or not, I will actually take out one of this transparent ruler and just place it on the line that I drew. So in this case, I'm using this ruler. Okay, so it's obviously more than 90, which means it's not applicable. So you have to try out something else if you don't have access to the tracing paper. So I readjust the figures a little bit. What if it's 4? Again, it's showing similar structure to the earlier ones. So I tried out this. Okay, it looks like it's almost forming the 90-degree. Almost. Okay, but not exactly. Not good enough. Okay, how do I determine not good enough? You might wonder. So all you have to do is actually just look at the diagonal that it created. You see a very big rectangle here in blue, and on the other side, the diagonal is only one small rectangle, which the diagonal is different in size. Only when they are equal, then only it will qualify as the rotation. So we are very close apparently. Maybe I readjust it a little bit. Let's say I chose this point. So when this join and when this join, okay, I'm gonna color and have a look at their diagonals again. So it's a rectangle with 4 times 1. And on the other side, it is also, okay, we found it. Another rectangle with a 4 times 1. So this is actually how you trace the center of rotation here. So with these two supporting information, okay, and I also place my ruler here to double check whether it's 90 or not. And yes, it is, which means I can finally write this thing down, concluding that from the point is 3, 1. Then you'll be able to earn the full marks for question 11. Moving on to question 12. Okay, so this thing will be removed from 2025 exam batch onwards. So before that, will have to remember this for another 3 exam batch. If you're sitting in this year end or early next year, February, March, May, June, and October, November, you have to remember this. Okay, so which correct criterion for the statement? So they said AOB is congruent to COB. So they're referring to this triangle is same as here. Okay, first of all, I will rule out everything that has A. Okay, because all this while they didn't mention anything about the angle, so I can't use angle as part of my proving. And then RHS means what? Right hand side. Okay, so obviously that one is also out of the picture, and all we have left is SSS. So SSS, they are referring to this. Since they mentioned AB and BC is the same size, you can also identify that OA and OC is the same because they are both the radius, and OB is the line that they both share in common. So this will help us to conclude the answer for this question is SSS. Okay, moving on to part B. So circle theorem time. Okay, so there's 3 things that they are asking here. Let's have a look at the first one first. They wanted QSR. QSR is this part. Okay, so we have a radius, we have a tangent, and we have a triangle here. So this is all the criteria needed for us to apply the alternate segment theorem. Okay, alternate segment theorem means the angle here is opposite of the interior angle. So opposite is this part. Okay, the interior angle is referring to OQR. Hence, your QRS is actually 42. With the logic behind is alternate segment, okay, theorem. As for PQS, you are using alternate angle as it forms a Z here. Okay, so now again another 42 down here. Okay, do not contemplate yourself with the rules because the graph, they have a knob to scale here. Even though it doesn't look like it's 42, if you use the correct rule, then it will qualify as 42. So here we are at the part 3 question. Here we are having a look at the last question, POS. So this is actually the question that I don't like because again, Cambridge didn't mention whether it is referring to the major sector here or the minor. So with this, I'm just gonna assume they are asking us for the minor sector. Okay, I'm making assumption here again because of the poorly phrased question. Okay, so POS, first of all, things that you have to take note is angle. QPR is the same as QSR because they are both 42-degree or angle from the same segment. So this will help us to prove that here is 42, and with this you'll be able to find the center first. 180 minus 42 minus 42, you will get to 95. Eh? You will get to 96, and hence the balance is just 84. So this is one of the method. if you didn't or you couldn't identify this, there's actually an alternate option here. Okay, so I'm going to remove whatever that I just wrote and show you the other one. Okay, the other one is from angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So the angle from the center is POS here, and it will be twice the angle of PQS. Okay, center is here, then the outer part is here. So if you were to take the 42 and multiply it by 2, you will get 84 as well. Okay, so this is the second option available for you to identify B part 3. Moving on to question 13, Anya invests 6,000 in an account that pay compound interest at R% per year. After 8 years, she earned a total of 621.7. So 3 marks here. Okay, this is not the most challenging type, so please do not worry. For me, I like to write 100%. Okay, if you want to write 1, they're not going to stop you, so please don't worry. The catch for this question is the 621.7 is interest. But if you notice, compound interest formula will give you a value of investment, which is together with the capital and the interest earned. So if you wanted to do or find the answer for this, make sure you add in 6,000 to it. Otherwise, your answer will very likely be wrong. So the 621.7 will be divided by 6,000 first, and to get rid of the 8%, and to get rid of the power of 8, you have to put a root of 8 here. Then you arrive at the final section, which is to remove the percentage and the 1. So things that you have here will now be minus by 1 first. Then only you multiply them by 100. So I didn't key in to the calculator until the very end. So this is what I'm going to do. 8, 6621.7, 6,000 down here, and then to the multiply by 100. I have to minus by 1 first, just in case. You actually get a percentage of 1.24% as your R. Okay, so this is how you get things done. Do not key in anything until you already simplify everything. Okay, so question 14, directly proportional. So y equals to kx plus 3 and a square. So they use it in the word form. So please do not overlook this key information. So y is 5, x is 2. So I have k as 5 over 25, which is 1 over 5 here. So I have to update the equation now that you have the k, which is scale factor. So x plus 3 square, and then we are able to find y now when x is 1. So 1 plus 3 is 4, 4 square is 16 over 5 will be your final answer here, which is 3.2 if you were to write it in decimal. Okay, so moving on to question 15, we are almost finishing the paper now. Okay, so a bag contains of 5 green buttons, 2 blue and 6 white. Maya take 2 buttons at random without replacement. Find the probability that one of them is green and the other one is not green. So you must take note that your scenario 1 will be taking green first, then not green. And scenario 2 will be not green first, then green. Why do you have to consider about all the possibility here? Because they didn't exactly tell us what's the order of the button that you draw. Okay, they just mention as long as one of them is green, the other one is not, then it's fine. But because of without replacement, it will affect your probability here. Because if you get a green button first, there will be a total of 13 of them. Then once you took out one of it, the denominator decreases to 12. And those that is not green, there's still 8 of them. Meanwhile, on the other side, it will be 8 over 13 first, then 5 over 12. So please take note, you are supposed to add them up. Or if you want, you can multiply it by 2 straight away. You will get the same thing because they are just swapping the numerator and denominator. Okay, so if you're lazy, you can multiply it by 2 and still get the answer. But to be safe, if you're not very proficient in this, don't be lazy. Just write it once more. It's not going to take up too much of your time. Okay, and you still get 20 over 39 either way. Okay, so this is for question 15. Moving on to question 16, magnitude. So magnitude in this case, there's a few representation. They can either write something like a modular symbol outside of the vector, and it is also referring to magnitude. So to calculate this, all you need is a square root, -4 being squared, and a 5 square here. Magnitude also known as using Pythagoras theorem to sort out to find the slanted line here. So that will be square root of 41, which is about 6.40 after correcting it to 3 significant figures. Okay, so moving on to part B of it. They want us to find CB in terms of X and Y. So they gave us a hint, which is A is actually a midpoint of the straight line OB, which means AB itself will also be X as it is a midpoint of the full thing. Okay, so I also label down the arrows so that I can identify the answer accurately. Okay, so to get to CB means it starts from C. I can't straight away jump to A because there's no information showing us that. So I have to go through the origin first, CO, and then I can use the OB straight away. So CO itself, there's a change of direction. So the Y, instead of using positive, it will become negative here. And then with a 2x, you will get your full answer. Moving on to question 17. Okay, this is one of the questions that students always make mistake on. Please take note that 81 is currently to the power of 1. So everything inside, if they interact with the power outside, they will be multiplied. Okay, so there's a 12, then it will be multiplied by 3 over 4. The 81 has a power of 1. That's the reason why I didn't make any changes to it. Okay, your calculator can do majority of the work for you. Just key in, you get 27, and then 12, you will get x to the power of 9. So if you wanted to be safe, you can verify it again using your calculator. So 27, x to the power of 9 will be your final answer for this question here. Moving on to 18, they ask you for bearing. Okay, bearing of U from W. U from W means that they want us to find all the way to this part. Okay, and to achieve that, let's see, is there any other things that was given to us? They did mention that UVW is 125. Okay, UVW is 125. Right. U is due west. Okay, so these are the information that was given. There's one unspoken rule, and some teacher will mention, some doesn't. You have to take note that when they draw the arrow for you over here, it is always good that you extend it yourself. Okay, like this. And for other points that wasn't drew for you, you have to draw it manually. Okay, I'm gonna draw it manually here. Okay, Now that everything is drawn, there's a few information that you can actually fill in. Because of the term due west, it tells us that this part, to be specific, is actually a 90-degree. So with this, you can actually make some adjustment to the results. 125 minus 90, you will know that this part of the angle here is actually 35. So what's so important about this 35 here is that you can use alternate angle and transfer it up. Okay, and remember I mentioned earlier you have to stretch out the line a little bit so that you can know if it's a straight line, there will be 180 degrees here. Hence, to find the bearing, there's only one thing that is missing now. That will be your angle for this particular part. So if you were able to work that out, add it with 180 and 35, then this question should be done. Okay, so let's have a look at how to find it now. So we do have 125 here, and since it's a triangle, I'll be able to use sine rule where sine 125 is corresponding to 62.4, while on the other side, if I were to find the angle of UWV, which is the angle that's missing here, I'm able to equate it to 27.3. And to find your sine UWV, you have to take 27.3 sine 125 divided with 62.4. And to find the angle UWV, you're going to use sine inverse 27.3 sine 125 and 62.4. So if I were to key in this straight away to my calculator, my answer will be wrong, because if you pay attention to the screen now, my calculator is currently in radian mode. So for those who actually took maths, please be careful. Do not make this kind of mistake here. Make sure you convert it back into degree first before you key in your sine inverse 27.3 sine 125 and then 62.4. So the final answer for this part is actually 21.0. And how will this help you with your answer? You have to take 180 plus 35 plus 21, then you'll be able to find your final results. So it is actually 236. You don't have to put 0 at the front because it is already more than 100. Okay, so this part is done. So moving on, we only have last 3 questions here. Question 19 is the newly added, not newly anymore since it started in 2020. It's actually a cosine graph that they are asking you to sketch. So to help you with it, I'm going to draw out the 90, which is roughly around here, and the 270 degree. So how a cosine graph looks like is that it will start from the highest point of 1, okay, because there's no, for maths, they didn't actually test you on vertical translation. They didn't test you on amplitude. They didn't test you on period. So what you're sketching here is just the default, the basic graph. Okay, so this is the graph that I roughly sketched, and if I were to nitpick, I will actually deduct marks from here. So the curve is supposed to get a little bit smoother and connect to the correct 180 point. Okay, so that's how you earn the 2 marks here. I'm not gonna do some correction on this, just to let you know, if you were to submit this graph, the crooked part over here will cost you another 1 marks, most likely. Okay, so next question here involves trigonometry quadrant concept. Okay, so 5 cosine x equals to -3. I shift the 3 away first, then cosine x equals to -3 over 5. So cosine now appears to be negative. Okay, this is very important. Every time when you arrive at this step, please stop. So time to draw out the quadrant. Okay, it is ASTC. Okay, if you can't remember this, the acronym for this is all school teacher crazy. Okay. Cosine to be negative. Okay. Please take note that it is covering all the way from 0 to 360 according to this statement. And for cosine to qualify as negative, your answer will be appearing at sine and tangent part here. Because A stands for everyone, positive. S stands for sine is positive, the rest is not. Tangent positive here, cosine positive here. So cosine negative will be the part that I shaded in red. Okay, so now time to key in the calculator. Cosine inverse 3, negative 3 over 5. Then you get your answer as 126.9. Okay, because for degree results, you have to show it in one decimal place. Okay, so first answer is located here. That is your 126.9. And then when they ask you for the next results, you have to go through again, starting from this 0 here. So to get to the answer, or the next answer here, you can actually use the concept of this. Okay. When the part that you have are shaded next to each other, it's actually a reflection. So this one in blue is actually 126.9. To trace this black line here, all you need to do is to take 360 minus 126.9. Okay, this is one of the options. For students that couldn't see this, they actually is allowed to use this part as well. Because of it being a straight line, you can take 130 minus 126.9 and you get 53.1 first. And this 53.1 will be reflected down here. And it can also be 180 plus 53.1. Let's verify both of these answers that I wrote here. So 360 minus 126.9, you will get 233.1. Alternatively, if you take 180 plus 53.1, you also get the same results. So please take note, these are the two options that you have for identifying the second possible answer here. So write it down, then you may move on to the last section. Okay. Next. Oh, graph again. So for this, you have to substitute the 3x squared minus 2x minus 1. Okay, so negative 0.5 will be squared minus 2 negative 0.5 and minus 1. So this will be 0.75. And when the things turns out to be positive, the answer is negative 1.25. Okay, to fill in the graph, you should earn the 1 marks already. Then time to plot down the points and sketch out the graph. Okay, so they say when x is negative 1, your y is 4. When x is negative 0.5, you got 1.75, which is around this part. 0 is negative 1. And then 5 is 1.25. Then 1 is 0. 1.5 is 2.75. Okay, so this will be the full answer here. And when you try to sketch it out, okay, so this will be the answer here. So again, if I were to deduct the marks, it will be the one down here lah, because the curve is not perfect. I couldn't quite draw it because my iPad is a little bit slanted. Okay, so this will be your final answer. Okay, lastly, we have drawing a suitable line. They want you to solve this equation. Okay, so time to compare among this equation that you see here and this equation that you see here. So first of all, one is both 3x squared, but the top part here, they wanted negative 2x only. So for me, I'm gonna split my negative 4x into 2x and 2x. Okay, so that they have 3x squared, I have negative 2x. And lastly, they wanted 1 only, but I have negative 2 here. Okay, so to get it done, it means that I will have to split up the negative 2 as well. And things that you need are those that I put in tick, and the rest, when you shift it away, you now form a new equation that goes by 2x plus 1. So this 2x plus 1 here will be the new line that they want you to draw. And when you draw out this line, then you'll be able to find the intersection here. So if you need, you can draw out a table like this with x and y inside of it. When your x is 0, your y will be 1. So the point is actually located here. So when my x is 1, my y is actually 3. So the intersection is here. So with these 2 points, okay, minimum you need 2 points, then you'll be able to join them up and find the intersection. So apparently my intersection here shows me the results. It was in between, right over here, somewhere around 0.4, I guess. It's negative 0.1, negative 0.2, negative 0.3, negative 0.4. Okay, so the answer here is negative 0.4. Okay, last question now. So a curve has an equation of x cubed minus 12x. Find the gradient of the curve at the point. So when you saw the term gradient here, nowadays it is not referring to your y equals to mx plus c anymore. It is actually referring to the so-called gradient function or the differentiated results of your equation. So you need to know that how much is your dy dx, okay? And to differentiate this, the steps goes by taking out the power, multiply it to the front. So since there's nothing in front of x, it will be 3 only. And since you took out the power will now decrease by 1. So from 3, it decreased to 2. Meanwhile, for the negative 12 that you have there, it has a power of 1 here. 1 times negative 12, it will still be negative 12, and x will become 0. And anything to the power of 0 will be 12 only. So for those who don't understand why gradient function is also known as dy dx, you can actually experiment on the existing equation, which is your line equation here, the linear equation. When you differentiate it, the constant will be ignored because they have no x to it. And you get m, okay, times 1, and then x 0. So dy dx is actually m here. Okay, so when the point, you're using the x results, when x equals to 1, your dy dx, or the gradient of this curve, will be 3, 1 squared minus 12. So as a result, you will get negative 9 as the gradient. Okay. So lastly, find the turning points of the curve, means that they want your dy dx to become 0. So 3x squared minus 12 equals to 0. 3x squared equals to 12. X squared equals to 4. So the x results here will be plus minus, hence it will be plus minus 2. Okay, so 1 is 2, 1 is negative 2, and when you substitute it into your calculation, 2 cubed minus 12 times 2, the other one is 2 cubed minus 12 times negative 2. So key in your calculator and double check. 2 to the power of 3 is 8. 8 minus 24, you will get negative 16. And on the other side, you will get negative 8 plus 24, you will get 16. So one is negative 16, one is positive 16. And this is how you solve this paper here. So overall, the question is pretty generic. If you did enough past year, uh, over the years, over the past few months, everything should be fine. So in my opinion, the only challenging enough question here will be this one, the bearing question, because if you don't draw out the arrow, you won't be able to find the bearing. So this is one of them, and some students are new to trigonometry, especially this quadrant concept here. So question 18, question 19, and 2021. Okay, these four questions or this last 4 page are the only ones that I think is challenging. The rest is pretty generic, and I hope you are able to understand the full paper solution after watching this. So wish you all the best in your upcoming examination. Good luck, guys. Bye.